السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد. إخواني في الله, in the year 1961 there was a huge celebration in Spain. They were celebrating the greatest leader of Spain in its entire history. In the year 1961 of the Christian calendar, they were celebrating 1,000 years since the death of the greatest leader that has ever come out of Spain. And this greatest leader, Ikhwani Fillah, that has ever come out of Spain in its entire history is Abdurrahman al-Nasir. He's known as Abdurrahman al-Nasir, the son of Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abdurrahman al-Awsat ibn Hakam ibn Hisham ibn Abdurrahman al-Dakhil. Ikhwani Fillah, what is the story of this great man? We took a part of it in the previous lesson and we continue today. And what are the lessons we can learn as Muslims so that ever comes an opportunity for us to go back to those days of glory, those days of strength, those days of power, those days of Izzatul Islam wal Muslimin, we try and apply the same lessons that they taught us. Ikhwani Fillah. We begin our story, Ikhwani Fillah, our history from the year 316 of the Hijri calendar. We said previously, Ikhwani Fillah, that Abdurrahman al-Nasir, he became the leader of the Muslims in the year 300 of the Hijri calendar. And only land that was remaining in Andalus that they could control his family, the Umayyads, was only the city of Cordoba and the villages around. After 16 years of struggle and firmness, he was able to conquer the entire of Andalus. And everyone knew him as the most powerful and the overall leader of the land of Muslim Spain and Portugal, the land of Andalus. So the year 316 comes, Ikhwani Fillah. He looks at the Islamic world. The Islamic world, the Khalifa, the Islamic Caliphate is based in the capital city of Baghdad. The most beautiful, the most elegant capital city for the Muslims, the city of Baghdad in Iraq. He looks to the Khalifa, the Abbasid Caliphate, and he sees that the Khalifa al-Muqtadir bidnillah has been assassinated in Baghdad by the Turkish man who is known as Muzaffar al-Turki. So there's no Khalifa over there. It's only the Turkish people who are putting any person they can find from the Abbasid family to be ceremonial leader, but the leaders from the Abbasids are actually the Turkmen. He looks at the Islamic world, everywhere is divided. As you mentioned, the eastern province of Saudi Arabia currently is known as, it used to be known historically as Bahrain. The country of Bahrain is there right now, but Bahrain historically was the entire eastern province of Saudi Arabia. All this area, Ikhwani Fillah, was controlled by the Qaramita. The Qaramita, they did a great crime in Kaaba. They attacked the Muslims who were performing Hajj. And they killed the Hujjaj, 80,000 of them. And they destroyed the well of Zamzam and filled it up with bodies. And they stole the Hajar al-Aswad. There was no Hajar al-Aswad for 22 years in Mecca. People are going around the Kaaba, there's no Hajar al-Aswad to kiss. So much so you find books of fiqh written that time, they tell you to kiss the Hajar al-Aswad in Kana, if it's there. Before they used to write in Amkan. Today they write in Amkan. You kiss it if it's possible. By that time they were writing in Kana, if it's there. There was no Hajar al-Aswad. It was stolen and hidden by the Qaramita in Bahrain. This evil Shiite sect, heretical sect. The Islamic world was complete tatters. North Africa was taken over by the Dawla al-Ubaydiyah, the Fatimids, who the Aga Khan and the family of the Aga Khan they come from. These are the most extremist of the Shias. They took they killed so many of the ulama. The majority of ulama of Ahlul Sunnah were killed and massacred. Amongst them the Imam al-Nablusi. We mentioned this story before. The Imam al-Nablusi says he is captured by the Fatimids and they say to him, it has reached us that you have said that if a Muslim has 10 arrows, they should shoot us with 1 and shoot the Christians with 9. Why are you saying that and your fellow Muslims? This Imam, He's been captured by these enemies of Allah, this Fatimid. He says with all glory and all izzah, he says, Wallahi ma qultu hakadha. Wallahi, I did not say this. I did not say it this way. So the people are very happy, these enemies of Islam, they're very happy, this Dawla al-Fatimiyya. They said, كيف قلت إذن? How did you say? He says, Wallahi, لو كان مع رجل عشرة أسهم. If one man has 10 arrows, لَوَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ أَن يَرْمِيَكُمْ بِالتِّسْعَةِ. It is obligatory upon that Muslim to throw up or shoot you guys with 9 arrows. ثُمَّ يَرْمِيكُمْ بِالْعَاشِرَةِ أيضا. Even the 10th arrow, they should throw it upon you. So it's with all glory that you guys are the ones deserving to be fought by the Muslims. لِأَنَّكُمْ غَيَّرْتُ الْمِلَّةِ. You changed the faith. وَقَتَلْتُمُ الصَّالِحِينَ. And you killed the righteous people. North Africa has been taken by the Fatimids. They took this Imam and they started skinning him alive from his face downwards. A Yahudi man, a butcher, started skinning him from the head until he reached his heart. He felt so much pity for this Imam because of his screams, and he stabbed him on the heart, and this Imam died. This was the state of North Africa, the entire of North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Mauritania, all these areas, they were taken by the Shia as the Dawla al-Fatimiyya. If your name is Abu Bakr, dead. Umar, you're killed. Aisha, Abu Huraira, if you're found in Sahih Bukhari, if you're found praying Salatul Tarawih in Ramadan, you're killed. Such was the bid'ah that they brought these people. So Abdurrahman al-Nasir, who looks at the entire Islamic world, he sees these Fatimids are declaring themselves caliphates, khilafah. Al-Baghdad, that weak person, is declaring himself a khalifa. He says, La, ana awla bidhalika minhum jami'an. I am more worthy of this than all of them. I am more powerful than them. I am control of this land by myself, and I come from the noble family of the Khulafa, the family of Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, the family of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the family of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. I come from this glorious family and this glorious tribe. I am more worthy of being the Khalif of the Muslims. So he declares himself the leader, overall leader of the entire Islamic world, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Khalifa from the year 316 of the Hijri calendar. In the year 319 of the Hijri calendar, he comes all the way from Spain. He crosses the Mediterranean through the Jabal Tariq. That's known right now in a weird spelling, can't even pronounce it. It's called Gibraltar. But the word is Jabal Tariq. So it's not Gibraltar. What is Gibraltar? Even as an English person, you can't pronounce it. It's called Jabal Tariq. They removed the IQ from its Jabal Tariq. He crosses from Spain into Jabal Tariq into Morocco. And he conquers the port cities of Sabta and Tanja. And he starts giving the Ahlus Sunnah weapons and support for them to free themselves from the dhulm, the oppression of the extremist Shia sect, the Fatimids. For benefit of Hanifillah, these Fatimids became so extreme, even when they were defeated, that they formed a small group, the Nizari Shias, the Aga Khans now. I studied in Aga Khan. I'm not saying anything out of them because of, I'm talking about history, nothing politics here. They formed a sect, Hanifillah, that was the most scariest sect in Islamic history. They used to take hashish, you know hashish? Bangi. And they used to be the most scariest sect. They almost assassinated Salahuddin Ayyubi. They assassinated many of the leaders of the Crusaders. Many of the righteous Muslim leaders were assassinated. They became so infamous that they were known as the Hashashiyun. Then this was pronounced later on the Assassins. You guys have that video game known Assassin's Creed. It's called Assassin's Creed. It's based on them, the Aga Khanis, the Nizaris. So he descended Abdurrahman al-Nasir into North Africa, and he captured the city of Sabta and Tanja, the port cities. They're still present till today, and he started supporting the Ahlus Sunnah al-Jama'ah. This is the year 319 of the Hijri calendar. The year 323 comes, Ikhwanifillah. The leader of the city of Zaragoza, that is the northeast of Spain, he betrays the Muslims. He forms an alliance with the kingdom of Leon, the Christian kingdom of Leon that's based in the north of Spain, and he attacks Abdurrahman al-Nasir. Abdurrahman al-Nasir is not worried about this. He goes and defends against that battle and defeats this army and this alliance, and he executes many of the commanders of this army. When this leader of Zaragoza sees that his commanders have been assassinated, he repents and asks for forgiveness. And this is the best time, Khanifillah, to ever forgive. وَالْعَفُوْ عِنْدَ الْمَقْدِرَةِ. When you have strength and power and you're able to hurt someone, and someone has really wronged you, and they ask for forgiveness, you forgive them. So he says, this man, Muhammad ibn Hisham at-Tajibi, you have betrayed the Muslims, but I forgive you. And on top of forgiving you, I return you to the leadership post in the city of Zaragoza. This is how, Ikhwanifillah, you bring hearts that are divided. For whatever reason, sometimes Muslims' hearts are divided. Forget all that in the past. In ta'afu wa tasfahu, you forgive and you forget and you move on as Muslims. This is the year 323 of the Hijri calendar. The year 325, Ikhwanifillah, he goes towards the northeast again, northern. He captures the city of Barcelona. You know the city of Barcelona? Became a city of Islam again. And he completely finished the kingdom that was there, the kingdom of Aragon. There were 3 kingdoms towards the north: Aragon, Navarre, and Leon. He completely finishes that kingdom, and they have to pay jizya. That's the year 325 of the Hijri calendar. Let us follow this history of this man. It's amazing. This man requires to be studied. If some of you are doing masters or PhD in any of the universities and you're taking history, one of the topics you can perhaps research upon is this great man, one of the greats of Islamic history that few of us know, but inshallah tonight you have known him, Abdurrahman al-Nasir. Read on his biography and that document it so that us as Muslims currently and future Muslims can learn how to be true, strong leaders. The year 327 of the Hijri calendar comes. He is the most powerful leader in the entire of Europe. He goes with an army of 100,000 to fight the kingdom of Leon. In the battle of Khandaq, the battle of Samora. But he forgets, Ikhwanifillah, to make the dua that the Muslims make. To ask Allah, oh Allah, nahnu du'afa wa anta qawi. Oh Allah, we are weak and you're the strong one, you're the one who has strength. Give us, Allahumma ansurna. They forget. Sometimes it happens to the Muslims. They see the army, they see their strength, and they forget that, oh Muslims, you do never get victory because of your numbers. You'll never get victory because of the weapons that you have. You get victory because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with you. No other reason. كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة. Victory comes from Allah Azza wa Jal. So he goes with this great army, Khanifillah, 100,000 of them. And 50,000 of them, half of the army, is either killed or captured. The Muslims were defeated in this battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَيَوْمَ حُنَيْنٍ إِذْ أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ كَثْرَتُكُمْ فَلَمْ تُغْنِ عَنْكُمْ شَيْئًا وَضَاقَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْأَرْضُ بِمَا رَحُبَتْ ثُمَّ وَلَّيْتُمْ مُدْبِرِينَ. And on the day of Hunayn, when your numbers deceived you and you started running away from the battlefield, Sahaba, these are people who were companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They are there to defend the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. But when they forgot where their strength and power came from, and they thought that their numbers will help them against the people of Ta'if, they ran away from the battlefield. And they left Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam on the battlefield. So Ikhwani fillah, from the lessons that we should learn as Muslims, never ever ever keep your trust in your numbers, or in your weapons, or in your tribe, or whatever any other factor. An-Nasr min indillah. Victory comes from Allah Azza wa Jal. So he understood he made a mistake, the Imam, the king, the leader, the Khalifa, Abdurrahman al-Nasir. And he went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he repented. But you make a mistake, Khani fillah, you just make sure as a Muslim that you don't fall in the same mistake again. All of us, kullu bani Adam khata. All of us will make mistakes. Don't give up. Don't say, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to leave this world, I'm going to... No, he went back, he understood he made a mistake. He made the scholar's position more stronger as before, brought the Sharia more stronger, put the hearts closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Then came back for round 2. As Muslims, you come back for round 2. Even if you're defeated 100 times, you'll come back 101, no problem. But with cleaner hearts, pure hearts. The year 329 of the Hijri calendar, he declares war on the kingdom of Leon. And he fights them from the year 329 of the Hijri calendar to the year 335 of the Hijri calendar. 6 years of jihad, fighting the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal, until they were so sure, these Christian kingdoms, that they were going to be destroyed. And they surrendered, they submitted, حَتَّى يُعْتُوا الْجِزْيَةَ عَنْ يَدٍ وَهُمْ صَاغِرُونَ, until they started paying the jizya, the tax that they're supposed to pay as non-Muslims, to the Muslims. They really surrendered. The kingdom of Leon, Navarre, and Aragon, all of them surrendered, and they start paying jizya to Abdurrahman al-Nasir from there on. Ikhwani fillah, this man was not only a military man. From the things he used to do, let's finish the military part, he formed navy that had 200 ships. He made sure that there was an industry dedicated to developing our own weapons. Lessons for us to learn. You can't have a country as Muslims, I don't have a navy. If you have a coast. You can't have a country, and do not have your own independent factories or making your own weapons. If you start depending on the weapons of others, when you need, you won't find them. So this is what he did in the military. Number two, he made sure that he had different ministries for different activities in his state. So there are so many ministers, so many departments. He made sure that every institution was led by people who are worthy of position. In the Soviet Union, there's a time a person who was working for the Soviet, before Russia came, there was a Soviet Union that was led beginning Lenin until the Western wall fell. So they captured a spy who was working for the Americans. And they wondered, we never understood you to be a spy. What exactly were you doing for the Americans? We now know you're a spy for the Americans. What were you doing for the Americans? He says, this spy, Russian man, a Soviet man who was working for the Americans, says, the only thing I used to do, if I'm given 5 CVs are brought to my table to give a person a promotion or a position in government, I make sure to choose the worst person of that position and give him that job. That is the way of destroying a country. If you want to destroy a country, destroy the institutions. And if you want to destroy those institutions, keep the worst people in leadership positions, keep the worst people in these government offices, and you shall definitely destroy that country. So if you want a stronger country, the opposite. Make sure your institutions are strong. Make sure the people you keep there are the best. So he kept very strong people in the institutions. That's what he did, number 2. Number 3, he started developing a new city, the city Madinatu Zahara. Says, people are coming to visit me from everywhere in the entire world, asking for my assistance, asking to be ambassadors. Let them meet a place where they will see the glory of Islam and the eyes of Islam. So he built Madinatu Zahara, one of the most beautiful cities ever built in history. And he built one of the castles that is known as the Castle of Hamra. Till today, people visit that castle and they are amazed. How did those people of those days build such an amazing structure? It was one of the most beautiful castles in entire Islamic history that people will travel thousands, 10,000s of kilometers just to come and see this castle of Zahra. He spent so much money on it. The Imam al-Mundhir ibn Sa'id, who was a scholar of the time, he heard that Abdurrahman al-Nasir has built a great castle. Then he goes to the castle and he sees that Abdurrahman al-Nasir has kept the ceiling. You see, the ceiling of our mosque is what? Gypsum and concrete. But that man, his ceiling, he had made out of gold and silver. And he started crying, the Imam al-Mundhir ibn Sa'id. He says, Oh Abdurrahman al-Nasir, ما ظننت, I did not expect أن الله سيبلغك منازل الكافرين. I didn't expect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you reach the stage or the status of the kuffar. Says, Subhanallah, انظر ماذا تقول. Subhanallah, what are you saying? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Mundhir Sa'id tells them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَوْلَا كَانَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ لِبُيُوتِهِمْ سُقُفًا مِّن فِضَّةٍ وَمَعَارِجَ عَلَيْهَا يَظْهَرُونَ وَلِبُيُوتِهِمْ أَبْوَابًا وَسُرُرًا عَلَيْهَا يَتَّكِئُونَ وَزُخْرُفًا. If the people were not one nation, لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ, we will make the ones who disbelieve in Ar-Rahman, لِبُيُوتِهِمْ سُقُفًا مِّن فِضَّةٍ, for their houses, silver ceilings. You're the same as the kuffar that's mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Zukhruf. Abdurrahman Nasir keeps his head down, he cries, and he commands his engineers and his architects and interior designers and contractors, change the ceiling. So he built this lovely city, Ikhwani fillah, Madinatu Zahra. Then he goes to the city of Qurtuba and develops it so much, ikhwani fillah, that the population increased to 500,000 Muslims. 500,000 Muslims were living in this great city of Qurtuba, the second biggest, largest city in the entire world, not Islamic world, the entire world. The greatest city was the city of Baghdad. Population over almost 2 million. That Hulagu Khan, we've discussed before, destroyed the city of Baghdad. 2 million inhabitants of Baghdad. The second great city is this city of Qurtuba. 500,000. Those periods, we have cities in Kenya that have not reached this number. True or false? Garissa, umefika ngapi? How many in Garissa? How many are you in what? In Isiolo or any of the cities of Muslims? In Malindi, Lamu. You have not reached this number. Even if you go to the UK, Birmingham, I don't know if they'll reach. Who's from the UK? I don't know. But this city of 500,000 Muslims, this city of Khalifillah had 3,000 mosques. 3,000 mosques. The whole of Kenya does not have 3,000 mosques, most likely. True or false? I don't think the whole of Kenya has 3,000 mosques. This city became known as Jawharatul Alam, the jewel of the entire world. City, a mosque every corner. He developed and expanded the mosque of Qurtuba until it became one of the most magnificent mosques in the entire world. The largest mosque, even bigger than the mosques in Al-Quds and Makkah and Medina at the time. The greatest mosque was the mosque of Al-Qurtuba. That's unfortunately now been turned into a cathedral. But the ayah is still there. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Inna al-fatha lillah. All these ayahs are still there. It's been turned to a cathedral in the city of Qurtuba. Qurtuba became so beautiful, so excellent, that even the Jews, they call this period of Abdurrahman Nasir and his son the golden age for us as Jews. This is what he did with regards to development. Education, him and his son thereafter, they expanded education so much that even the poor people, they were given free education. You don't pay for education. So they reached such a state where there was no illiteracy in the land of Andalus. Everyone could read and write. And that is the opposite of Europe. Europe did not know how to read or write. They did not know what the benefit of having a bath or a shower was. They used to think that the dirt on their body protects them from disease. They will not take showers. He says, I've not taken a shower for 8 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. I still a problem in Europe. You find, I'm not being racist or anything, you find Swedish baths. What's a Swedish bath or a French bath? These terminologies come from them. They have, I don't know, Nadafa is not something that is them. At-tahur shatr al-iman. Cleanliness is part of iman as a hadith. And if you don't have that iman, you don't have that tahur most likely. This is what he did, ikhwani fillah, with regards to education. Then agriculture. He made sure that agriculture is becoming spread in the land of Andalus. Cotton, wheat, flowers, fruits of every type. He made sure there are markets of every type. There's a market, specific markets, general markets. There's a specific market for flowers, specific markets for birds, specific markets for blacksmith. MashaAllah, he made the economy so strong that the budget, the national budget was 6 million gold coins at the time. 6 million dinar. This is 1,000 plus years ago. What is 6 million dinar? A dinar is about 4 grams, 4.25 grams. A dinar is 4.25 grams. 1 gram of gold right now is about $70. Are you together? Let's do this mathematics. So $70 times 4.25, that's about $300. $300 times 6 million coins is about $1.8 billion at that time. $1.8 billion, if you're economists, if you do the inflation, that budget has never been seen in this world. He divided that budget as his great-grandfather used to do, 1/3 for the army. The same way the American government does. The most of the budget of the American government goes to the defense. This month, they took it from, they learned from the Muslims. So 1/3 of the budget goes to the army. 1/3 for development, for the recurrent expenditure, for the salaries, for the roads, the bridges, the street lighting, the palaces, the salaries, whatever other expenses. And 1/3 emergency fund for future use. This was how this great leader, Khanifillah, was developing his land. That he became the most powerful leader ever in the history of Spain. People are coming from Spain, from France, ambassadors. They ask him, please assist us in this. We want to be friends. They open an embassy. Welcome. From Italy, from Germany, from as far as Constantinople. Constantinople was under the Christians at the time, Byzantine. They all come, they have friends. The King of England, he writes a letter, says, I'm sending to you 4 scholars. Please, I beseech you, I beg you, that I, as the King of England, I'm your obedient servant. Accept these 4 scholars and teach them. He signs down there, your obedient servant, the King of England. He became the most powerful leader in this period from the year 316 of the Hijri calendar to the year 350. He ruled the Muslims from the year 300 to the year 350, a period of izz, quwwah, power for the Muslims. And this is such a great man. We can mention many other names of great men in history, but this is one of the great men that few of us know. From the time of the 4 Khalifas, then Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, excellent example. Then so on and so on. And this man are people we should study if you want to become future politicians or leaders. Learn how these righteous Muslims used to do. So he passed away in the year 350 of the Hijri calendar. And his son became the leader of the Muslims. Hakam, the son of Abdurrahman and Nasir. The second leader of the Muslims at this period, the Khalifa, was Hakam, the son of Abdurrahman and Nasir, who led the Muslims from the year 350 of the Hijri calendar to the year 366 of the Hijri calendar. This man, was also amazing. He was a scholar of fiqh, of Arabic language, and many other fields. And it's an amazing thing, from the scholars about those days. They're not like us. Scholars, we have to give credence or thumbs up where it is deserved. The scholars of those days, was not only a scholar of fiqh or hadith or the sharia. You'll find him is also a scholar of mathematics, of physics, ophthalmology, astronomy. There's so many fields. Right together. So, this man, the new leader of the Muslims, Hakam ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir, he used to be known as Ushaq al-Qutub, the one who loves books. He built an entire new library known as the Umayyad Library. That was one of the greatest libraries in the entire Islamic world. The same level as the great library in Baghdad, Dar al-Hikmah, Bayt al-Hikmah, and the great library in Cordoba that was formed by his father and his forefathers. This library, he had, his father's library, Cordoba, had 400,000 books. 400,000 books. And the printer, the photocopy machine, was not existent at that time. 400,000 books, means it was written by hand. There were jobs, careers that were not there before. There was a job known as a nasakhin, a person whose job is just to write for you whatever you want. You bring a book, Sahih Bukhari, I'll write for you. Bring your science book, Al-Qanun, Ibn Sina, I'll write it for you. 500 pages come after 5 days. You go to the tailor to make clothes, you go to a person called a nasakhin, they write for your book. Then you have this man, Abd al-Hakam, he brings a new career or a new wadhifa. It is known as the researchers. So you want to research about a hadith. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, إِذَا مَسَّ ذَكَرَهُ فَلْيَتَوَضَّى. For example, if you touch your private part, you should make wudu. This hadith, how is it connected to this hadith? What do the scholars say about it, the tabi'in? You want someone to research for you, you go. There's a group, you give them a job, they research for you. Hadith, or a tafsir, or medical issue. Google of that time. So there's a group that is known as the Google of that time. So this, his son, Al-Hakam ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir, was known as Ushaq al-Qutub. He formed an entire new library. And he'll spend 1,000 and 10,000 of dinar buying books. And buying books is never a loss. Buying books is never a loss. I remember when I joined the Islamic University, met, I think it was Shaykh Jamaluddin. Shaykh Jamaluddin was 1 year ahead of me when we joined. So he told me, him or another brother, I can't remember exactly, he told us, make sure that every month you spend some money to buying books. This advice really hit my heart. So every month I used to make sure that any small money I have, 100 riyal, 200 riyal, religiously, every single month, I buy books. Alhamdulillah, by the time I graduated, large library, one of the largest libraries of all the students, alhamdulillah. So always buy books, it's never lost. And that book, you read it. Your wife will read it. Your child will read it. Your grandchild will read it. It becomes an inheritance, something that you leave. علم ينتفع به. Always have that intention that this book you're buying or this Quran that you're gifting to your family is the knowledge that is a sadaqatun jariyah for you. So this Imam, the leader of the Muslims, Akram ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir, he made sure any book, however expensive, the first copy or the second copy or a copy has to be in the new library of the Umayyads. So much so that he spent thousands of dinar getting the book of Al-Aghani, one of the books of Arabic adab, yani fluency and articulation, Kitab al-Aghani by Imam Asbahani. Asbahan is in the land of Iran. Andalus is towards the West Spain, thousands and thousands of kilometers, and he got the very first copy of Kitab al-Aghani by Imam al-Asbahani. Increased knowledge so much so, the ulama, any person's the ulama from the time of Abu Hanifa, Abdullah Mubarak, people are not taking care of the ulama. The ulama have to depend on themselves. You find Abu Hanifa, he's doing business and he's teaching. Abdullah Mubarak, he's doing his business, is also a teacher. You find many of the scholars were very poor. Imam Shafi'i was very poor. People, some of them, they die out of debt. Scholars, no one was taking care of scholars. That was a mistake that happened in many of our history. So he looks around Al-Hakam ibn Abdurrahman, he says, no. The scholars, be it Islamic or the other sciences, they should be in the university. I'm forming a new university, the University of Cordoba. Let the scholars teach there. I'll pay their salary on whatever expense they require. I support them. So, if you want also glory as a nation of Muslims, take care of our ulama, take care of your scholars. And from taking care of your scholars, it's not proper. I've said this before, that the table and the microphone, you should take this ajr. Why is the imam and the muaddin every time they're struggling to carry these things? Get this ajr, Look after the ulama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will indeed bless you a lot. So the crystal kingdoms, they look at this man, Al-Hakam, who was the leader of the Muslims when he was in his 40s. He's just 46 or something, he became the leader of the Muslims. Why? Because his father ruled for almost 50 years, from the year 300 to the year 350. So they look at this man, he's just focused on knowledge, he's focusing on education, he's focusing on sciences, he's focusing on books. This is the best time to attack. And they thought he was weak. He defeated them thoroughly in battle and gave them a lesson that we Muslims, even if we are focusing on our knowledge, ruhbanul layl wa shuja'anun nahar, we are worshippers at night, but in the day we are lions, scared of no one, ready to protect the glory of Islam and the Muslims. Defeated them thoroughly. Then he descends the Mediterranean, crosses Jabal Tariq, enters Morocco, and he captures the entire of Morocco. From the Dawla al-Fatimiyya, the Fatimids, captures the entire of Morocco, and he leads the Ikhwan and the Muslims a glorious period of history that the Jews, they say the golden age for us as Jews is when the Muslims were leading us in Muslim Spain and Andalus, is this golden age of Abdurrahman al-Nasir and his son Hakam ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir, from the year 350 of the Hijri calendar to the year 366 of the Hijri calendar, a period of strength, a period of power, a period of glory, our great history that we should all learn. Then, a mistake happened, and the Muslims became very weak thereafter. And this mistake goes back to this man, Al-Hakam ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir. What is this great mistake that he did that led to the eventual destruction of Andalus? The society became very divided. What is that mistake that this great man, who was a lover of Qutubs, did in the year 366 of the Hijri calendar? This is what we shall look at in our lecture tomorrow night. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.